Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning, depending on where you are. Good afternoon, if you're here on the East Coast. I'm sure all of you have heard the news is going all over the place since last night. Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk is off, officially off, and it's pretty disappointing. I was listening to my guy Ring IQ, and he was interviewing Steve Kim, and just like he said, I'm not surprised, but it's very disappointing news. But I'm really not surprised at all. As much as I did some content here and there where I talked about this fight, but I would just include it in other videos that I did because I was just waiting to see if it really would happen, and I actually thought it would happen because from where I'm sitting, if these guys didn't fight now, there wouldn't have been a way where they can fight with all four belts on the line, you know? There was no way to have because Usyk already had a bunch of mandatory obligations because he's holding the three of the belts. You had Joe Joyce, who was already a mandatory, who is he's gonna be fighting Zhilei Zhang, and just to stay busy. And you had Daniel Dubois, who's also a mandatory. So I was kind of sitting back, and again, being a boxing fan is like being in a battered, abusive relationship. You just used to getting beat down and disappointed with the quality of fights and the major fights like this one not happening. You get used to it happening over and over and over again. You know, um, so when I heard it, I was like, not surprised. I didn't get my hopes up too high after what happened with Bud and Crawford, Bud and Spence. And even recently, I've been kind of disappointed at the fact that Arthur Better BF and Dimitri and Bivol just can't face each other. You know, starting to get used to it, starting to get used to disappointment, and I'm just not surprised because Fury has never wanted this fight. He just never really wanted this fight. It's just a fight he's never been interested in. You can come up with your own reasons on why. Some people feel that he's just blatantly ducking, and others feel that he just doesn't want it. Fury just comes off as a guy that wants to fight who he wants to fight when he wants to fight him under his terms. It's very rarely where he's gonna have to, you know, take. I think when he fought Deontay Wilder, I think he had to make things right and make things work. But after that fight right there, it all became about Tyson Fury and doing what he wanted to do. He wasn't going to allow any sanctioning body to tell him what to do or who he needed to fight. It's never going to be that way. And that's the thing when it comes to Fury. And a lot of people started talking about him being like this all-time, greatest heavyweight. It's like, bro, you fought two trilogies that people just weren't asking for. Now, the Wilder trilogy was fun. All three fights were good. Well, the second one was just a domination, but they were very, very entertaining fights. I love those three fights. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Even when I was complaining about it because I wanted to see them both move on, I love that trilogy. I paid for it and I had a good time. The third fight was good. It was the best one. The second fight, was a beatdown, but the first fight was good and entertaining. It was entertaining. But you fought Derek Chisora 3 times, man. And if you are a diehard Fury fan, I think you guys need to really understand this real quick. If you are a diehard Fury fan, you got to understand, like people like me and others, we're not trying to take away from his talent. We know that he's good. No one's trying to say he's trash. We know he can box. We know how good he is. But him, the person he is outside of the ring, is a completely different guy. I don't like him at all. As a person, I don't I've never seen a fighter contradict themselves as much as Tyson Fury. I've never seen a fighter can literally wake up today and say something completely different from what he said yesterday. You know, it's just, this is why I say to you guys, let's not just jump the gun and say that this guy is the greatest of all time. Like, you got to put yourself in those situations. You got to have those fights that you don't want because you want to be great. There was, leading up to this fight here, there was nothing leading up to this fight that told me he cares about being undisputed. This guy doesn't care about legacy at all. He's never cared about legacy. He just doesn't care. Tyson Fury is a phenomenal fighter, but he wants to fight who he wants to fight when he wants to fight them on his terms. And he's been consistent with that. It's not about waiting or anybody. No, he wants to fight when he chooses, the way he chooses with his terms. So as far as last night, Usyk's manager, I believe he spoke to Steve Kim, because I know Steve Kim said he had a conversation with, the reporters started coming out that the fight was off based on what his manager, Usyk's manager, said. They're calling it off. The demands are just too high. It's just too much. We agreed to everything we wanted, but they're just getting too crazy. Today, there's more reports, more information. Usyk's promoters come out. Frank Warren has come out and responded to, all these fight cancellations and stuff. All the reports is out. It's on ESPN. It's on YouTube. It's everywhere, right? Frank Warren has come out and said that he's still going to try to make the fight happen. But Frank Warren said one thing that's a key when it comes to all of this. He said that this is all about the rematch clause. Like the 70-30 they agreed with. The rematch clause, it's not even a rematch clause that's the problem. It's the purses for the rematch clause, which is the issue. But he also said that Tyson Fury didn't want the rematch clause. Like he came out publicly and said on social media, I don't want a rematch clause. And then Usyk came out behind him and said, we don't want it neither. Your team wants it. But Frank Warren today on IFL TV, he says, Fury didn't want the rematch clause, but I got him to agree to take a rematch clause. But then he goes on to explain why we don't want a rematch clause, because there's only going to be one time where all 4 titles are on the line. So there's a lot of contradictions because Frank is saying one thing, but at the same time, he's saying another. We all don't. When Fury said that he doesn't want a rematch clause, I was like, yes, because I'm tired of the rematch clauses. I think many of us boxing fans are tired of the rematch clauses. So when he said no rematch clause, we don't want it, and Usyk came behind him and said, yeah, we don't want it neither, but your team wants it. You guys agreed with it. I was like, okay, so maybe they could come to terms without having this rematch clause, because these rematch clauses is what's holding up good fights. I want to see these guys fight against other people. I don't want to see 2 or 3 fights. As much as I love the Wilder trilogy because it was entertaining, I didn't want a trilogy. I thought the rematch was definitely warranted because of the fact that the first fight was a draw. All right. And even if you think Fury won the fight clear, I still feel that there should have been a rematch for sure. But as far as a third fight, I didn't ask for it. It was good and I loved it. And it was the best fight of the trilogy, but I didn't want a third fight. because I want other fights. I want to see Joshua fight Fury, or Joshua against Wilder, or Usyk against Fury, or Usyk against Wilder. There's so many other fights to be made. When I think of, the golden era of heavyweight boxers, so many fighters got made. Yeah, there was certain ones that didn't happen, or certain ones that happened too late, but there was still so many fights that, when you think of the 90s, so many of these fighters fought each other. So all I'm asking for is to make these fights happen. But something with Tyson Fury, I mean, he just acts like, don't you want to be undisputed? You would be the first 4-title undisputed champ in history. You'll be the first one. Do you not care? Why are you making the stipulation so difficult for a guy that has never had issues making a fight? Usyk did what he was supposed to do at cruiserweight. He's moved up. He's had his tests, his couple tests. He fought Chisora. He beat Joshua twice. He became a unified champion. All he wants is to make history and have legacy for himself. But you guys are making it so difficult. And this is what the promoter says. And I believe them. I believe them. You know why? Because there's always some bullshit with Team Fury when it comes to making the bigger fights. Now, when it comes to making fights with Chisora, or like any random person that no one's asking for him to fight, it's an easy fight to make. They was quick to just turn their backs on the Joshua fight and give him deadlines and get all this shit. But when it came to Derek Chisora beating him for a third time in a fight that no one asked for, there was no reason to have that fight. There's no way you could justify 3 Derek Chisora fights, maybe 2, but 3 of them was kind of ridiculous. And even in the first fight, even though it was competitive, it didn't even really. I remember going back and watching that again last year because I had to do film study. And I was like, not for nothing, but this is not a rematch we needed to have, but it is a rematch that I can see could make some money. So I get it. All right. But the third fight, why? Why did we get that fight? Why did we get that fight? Why are we getting those type of fights? Don't you want to be undisputed? And the funny thing about all of this, I think Fury could beat Usyk. I think he would win the fight. But all the ducking and dodging and evading they're doing, you're making me feel like you're not confident in this fight. Like, what's going on? Like, I think you could win the fight. Bro, I think you could win. I think you would beat Usyk. And you you got 70-30. You got the guy to submit to you and say, all right, I'll take the 30%. Even though I have 3 titles, I'm coming off a Joshua win. I'll take the 30%. And you still can't get it right. What is going on, man? How do you not get this right? Do you not care about legacy? No, he does not care about legacy. Fury does what he wants when he wants to do it at all times. And he must be in full control. This is the same guy that said he was going to donate money. This is the same guy that turned around and asked for $500 million for a fight. This is the same guy that has gone on and back and forth about retirement. This guy is completely unpredictable. Amazing fighter. Amazing fighter. Phenomenal fighter. But what is going on with his head? What is going on? I'm going to drop the link if any of you guys want to join up. If anyone just wants to, I don't know, defend Fury or just rant even more about it, because I really didn't even want to get on here to rant, to be honest, because I'm really not surprised. I think talking about it now is making me more upset. And please, if you haven't already, please, all of you, smash that like button, man. Let's get up to 50 likes. There's a lot of you guys in here. Let's get up to 50 likes at least. All right. I just don't understand. I don't understand. Just don't you want to prove that you're the best? Usyk is undefeated. He's a top 2 or 3 pound for pound fighter in the world. Don't you want to beat this guy? Isn't there something in you as a competitor that says, I want to take this guy out? Isn't there something in your heart that says, I want to be undisputed? Why do you just make it seem like you can do without this fight and you can just go on and fight whoever the hell you end up choosing fight? You know, I just don't get it. Not me. Thank you for the donation, man. I appreciate you for doing that. Um, yeah, I don't understand, man. I would never understand. Yes, I would favor Fury over Usyk. If they were to fight, I am leaning towards Fury to win. I am. I am. And I'm not saying it because I just think it's easy fight for him. I'm saying it is because I've played this fight in my head over and over and over and over again. And I honestly believe that Fury would win the fight. I've made content on this fight, for the last couple of years. I think Fury would win. But it doesn't change anything. It doesn't mean that I don't want to see the fight. I still want to see it. I don't want to have these we always get stuck with talking about hypothetically who would win these fights. We get stuck with it because not enough of these guys are fighting. So what we do is take common opponents that fighters have had, or we'll take other wins on the resume. Like, a lot of the Fury and Wilder fans believe that since Fury beat Wilder, that Fury is just the best, hands down. He can't be beaten by anyone because he beat Deontay Wilder. No, it doesn't work that way. I want to see you win. I want to see you be the best. I want you to prove it. I don't care if Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz. I don't care if he lost to Usyk twice. I still want to see the fight. And this is what I was saying last year. I want to see you beat up Anthony Joshua. I want to see you beat up Oleksandr Usyk. I don't want you to just get credit for a fight that you didn't take. And this is like, what disgusts me about all of this? What really disgusts me? Daniel Dubois. Why is he such, like, you got Fury saying he'll take Daniel Dubois, and you got Usyk, who it's his mandatory to fight him. Why is Daniel Dubois right up there in between these two? Daniel Dubois, Triple D of all people. Why is he being brought up if this fight doesn't work out on Fury and Usyk's end? Why is he? Now, I understand that he's the mandatory, but mandatory based on what? How did he become a mandatory? How is he in position? He just lost to Joe Joyce. It just doesn't make sense. Daniel Dubois, out of all the heavyweights, out of everybody, Daniel Dubois? What are we talking about? How is Andy Ruiz Jr. not in front of him when it comes to mandatories? What is going on with these sanctioning bodies? What's happening? This doesn't make sense to me. How is Joe Joyce? He should be the mandatory. I know he's already involved in a fight coming up because he was waiting. He's sitting on a bench. He's 37 years old. He needs to fight somebody. But Daniel Dubois, bro, he barely survived this last fight. Why? Why? You meaning to tell me he has a better shot at getting a title shot over Joe Joyce? Tyson Fury already said that Joe Joyce is like the other best heavyweight in the division right now. So shouldn't you want to fight him? This is crazy. I hope Frank Warren can turn this all around. What I'm thinking on a brighter side, what I'm thinking is maybe they really didn't want this date, and maybe they can just reschedule the date to a different time. I think that April 29th is not the date that they're looking for, and maybe they're just blowing some smoke, and hopefully that they can get this going in May or late May or June at some time, because there's only one opportunity to fight for all four belts. So whoever wins this fight At whoever wins this fight, whether they do a rematch or whether they go on to fight somebody else, they're not gonna be able to hold all those belts because they're gonna have mandatories. They're gonna have to pay some, like step aside money or something in order to have the fight. So, I don't know what they're gonna do, man. You know, I don't know what they're gonna do. This is very disappointing news, but at the same time, it's boxing, man. This is what happens. Um, yeah. Uh, One foot out the door says didn't make sense a week after Tank and Garcia. Is it a week after? When is Tank and I thought Tank and Garcia was late May. Or maybe you're right. Let me check it out. Hold on. Just to be sure. When is that fight? Because Canelo is May 6th, right? Or May 5th is on that weekend. Oh, it's April 22nd. You're right. You know what? And I said this the other day because it's too many pay-per-views, right? Coming up. Because you got Plant and Benavides, which is a month apart. So you have a little time this weekend. But then you would have Tank Ryan, Fury Usyk, and then Canelo Ryder, all 3 weekends back-to-back pay-per-views. I think you're right, bro. I think you're right. This is what I'm saying. I'm hoping that they just are blowing off smoke because they don't want the fight to be on that date. They don't want it to be on that date. Because all of these guys are going to take a hit as far as pay-per-view. But at least with Tank and Ryan, at least their fight is first. At least their fight is in April 22nd. But Fury and Usyk will probably take a hit. And then Canelo will take a hit too. I mean, Canelo's going to do his numbers, but with the quality of opponent, it's not much of a demand to fight John Ryder. People are going to just buy the pay-per-views. They'll just be paying to see Canelo, really. I'm sure some of the UK supporters will probably support John Ryder, but how this fight is going to be like 5 o'clock British time, 5 o'clock in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know about that. So you might be right. That's a good point. That's a good point. Richard says, how much do you want to bet Fury starts calling AJ out after he fights Franklin? I'm not betting on that, but he probably do it, but it doesn't matter. I don't believe a Tyson Fury call out. Even if he calls him out, I don't know how serious he is as far as taking a fight. You know, I just don't know how serious he is. What's up, Jimmy?
Salute, bro. How you doing?
Not bad. A little upset, but what you think of
Me
the
too, bro.
news?
I'm down in the dumps as well, just like you. I really wanted this fight for a long time. 'Cause I think the heavyweight division in boxing needed an undisputed champion, but I mean, it's just like anything else, bro. Just like Crawford Spence. Just like so many other big fights, we're just not going to get it, unfortunately. And I think the main
Yeah.
reason is Tyson Fury. And I'm a big Fury fan, but I just got to be honest, bro. Constantly moving the goalpost, being so difficult in negotiations. I just,
Hmm.
feel like Fury is the reason it's not going to happen.
Who do you think is going to win the fight if they are to fight?
For me, it's always been like an even money fight, but I've had to lean towards someone, probably Fury, just because of the size and the strength. And I think he
Right.
does have really good skills as well. So,
Yeah.
the old saying, a good big man beats a good little man. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I think in certain ways, like stylistically, I think they cancel each other out. I think there's some advantages of Usyk. His lack of size could be an advantage because I don't think Fury necessarily liked the style of Usyk, you know, his quickness, his movement, him being a southpaw. He's just a really tricky fighter, you know, and at the same time, I think Usyk, you know, he takes advantage of a lot of fighters that are a lot stiffer than, you know, Tyson Fury. You know, a lot of the right hands that he normally would just get out of the way of, he probably will take against Fury. You know, a lot of those right hands that was it Tony Bellew for it when in that fight? Tony Bellew did pretty well against Usyk in that fight and timing
Yeah,
him, you
yeah.
know. And I think Fury can do some of the same things in that fight as well. You know, but it's a good fight. It's a good fight, but what do you think
The
about,
thing
you know, the date? Like what I was just speaking on the date and possibly their teams just not wanting that fight to happen on that date.
Well, originally, bro, I was hearing that Fury had an injury that needed surgery after the Chisora fight. So I
Right.
thought the date would move forward, but then they just went completely hush on that. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure if Fury's healthy to fight, and maybe he's just trying to push the date forward so he can recover.
Yeah.
Um, and as far as a stylistic thing, I'm going to be honest. When he fought Steve Cunningham, a small guy that can move with good boxing skills, he looked terrible in that fight. He looked hurt. He was getting outboxed
Yeah.
and he had to really, really grind down to win. And I wouldn't put Steve Cunningham on the same level as someone like a Usyk, even an Otto Wallin, a southpaw who had some some boxing skills and can move a little, made Fury look really average. And again, I wouldn't put that guy on the same level as Usyk. So I think the Usyk fight is probably the most dangerous fight out there. I think I agree with you, bro. Like Deontay Wilder was a dangerous fight at that time, but beating one top guy it doesn't just give you a pass that you don't have to fight anyone else again and you're by default the best fighter of the era. Like you
Right.
still have to put some work in. You still have to fight the Usyks. A Joshua that's once he rebuilt his career, a Joe Joyce, a Andy Ruiz. Guys like Hergovich or some of the younger contenders coming up. I want to see those fights because that's always the way the heavyweight division's been, bro. There's been a lot of dangerous guys, and if you want to be the top fighter of that era, you have to kind of go through a lot of them, not just Wilder over and over again.
Yeah. And the possibility of getting a fourth fight is real. You know, I think that can really it could definitely happen. You know, if all else fails, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury will fight for a fourth time. And that's a problem with Fury, in my opinion. He wants to fight people that you know, he's comfortable in fighting. You know, for you to go and fight Wilder three times and even Chisora three times, this goes to show that like you just want to get in a ring with something that you're comfortable with doing, you know, that you're used to doing. You know, is a guaranteed win. You know, you're gonna get paid. You know, at the end of the day, I don't think he cares all about this legacy stuff. You know, it's
Yeah, bro. I think he was actually kind of a little shameless though, because a lot of the British fans and media have actually turned on him quite a bit because the first two Chisora fights they were on free TV. Um, But the third one, a fight no one was asking for, he put that on pay-per-view, and then he like increased the price as well, which was ridiculous. Like, that was crazy what he did with the Chisora fight. Like I just think like if you want to fight, look, if you can't fight Usyk, there are some good options out there. It's like you said, bro. You've got Joe Joyce, you've got Andy Ruiz, you've got Joshua if he rebuilds a little. I mean, back to Wilder again. I mean, come on, bro. That's really
yeah.
kind of disrespectful.
I
Like these are
actually would
some
like
bad.
if Usyk fought Deontay Wilder. Believe it or not, I saw, you know, they were chatty about it a few months back before, you know, they started, you know, decided to go this route and making an undisputed fight. After Fury beat Chisora, you know, there was you know, talks of Usyk and Deontay Wilder fighting. I would love to see it because it's something. I mean, if these guys are not going to fight, I mean, obviously, I want undisputed overall. But if they're
Yeah.
not going to fight each other, I don't want to see Usyk fight Daniel Dubois. We already know how that fight ends. It's an easy fight for Usyk. It's an easy fight for Tyson's Fury. It's an easy fight for both. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
I would
I'd like
love
to
to
see my
see
boy
Deontay
Joe
Wilder.
Joyce.
Hmm?
I'd like to see my boy Joe Joyce get a shot at one of the top dogs. That dude's
He's earned
pushing
it, in my
40.
opinion.
Yeah,
You know, he's a legit mandatory. He's beaten Daniel Dubois. He's knocked out Joseph Parker. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I think he's earned it. I think as far as like who's earned a title shot. I think Andy Ruiz and Joe Joyce are at the top two, and then you have, of course, you have Wilder and Joshua as the former champs, and then you have the two current champs. I don't think
Yeah.
it's really much room for a Daniel Dubois. I just Dillian White had his shot. I think Dillian White is on a rebuilding stage right now. And that's just about it. I think it's pretty simple.
Hasn't Daniel Dubois, if I'm mistaken, he's got some kind of belt, doesn't he? He's got the WBA,
Yeah,
the
he has a
regular.
WB title that he won from what's the guy's name? I forgot. He's not that good. He had lost to Jarrell Miller, and he lost to a couple guys. Wasn't that good of a fighter. Uh Bogdan Dinu. So he loses to Joyce, and then right away they get him a WBA interim world title shot against Bogdan Dinu, who literally has done nothing his whole career but just get beat up on
Yep.
by everybody he's faced, any top guy that he faced. So it really didn't make sense, but that was a politic move by Frank Warren, you know. So that's what put him right back in position, because he went on to beat Trevor Bryan, who held the regular WBA title, and then that's what earned him a title shot, basically, or put him in a position to be mandatory again. Even though he just lost to Joe Joyce, he's in the very same spot as Joe Joyce right now. The only difference is Daniel Dubois doesn't have a fight schedule, so he's available. Joe Joyce isn't.
Yeah, I think he's actually ahead of Joe Joyce as far as the mandatory orders, which is
Mhm,
crazy though, because you think the dude that knocked you out and who's fighting better opposition, guys like Joe Parker, Carlos Takam, and he beat him as well,
mhm.
Dubois as well. Surely he's he's in the shot before you, but it's like you
Yeah.
said, bro, politics. And Frank Warren really likes Daniel Dubois. That's a guy that he has had since the beginning. And Joe Joyce is a guy that kind of was actually brought in as an opponent, but he upset the apple cart.
And in a Carlos Takam fight, it's still looking good because Joyce stopped him in 6 rounds, and Takam just beat the guy that beat Joyce in the Olympics. You know what I'm
Yep, yeah,
saying?
okay.
I mean,
That win is
I
aging
mean,
really good. Yeah,
Arslan Beck couldn't even stop Carlos Takam. It was a competitive fight. I mean, he lost, but it was still a competitive fight. Joe
yep,
Joyce stopped him in 6 rounds. I
yep.
mean, if anybody deserves a title shot, it's Joe Joyce. And I don't think anyone's looking to fight him anytime soon. I think anyone that fights him, they're going to have to fight him. And they might even vacate. I mean, to be honest, I'm going to go as far as saying, I don't even think Usyk wants to fight Joe Joyce at this point. Even though he's beaten
Yeah.
him in the past, I don't think anyone really wants to fight Joe Joyce. Who wants to deal with that?
The size, the engine, the very underrated skills. I'm actually really looking forward to his fight with Zhang. You
Yeah.
got two big, powerful, punchers. Olympic pedigrees. And a lot of people thought Zhang beat Hergovich. So I think Zhang's a quality fighter, and I think Joyce is obviously in a really good spot. So I think that'll be a great fight. So I like to see Joe Joyce stay busy and fight good guys like Zhang and stuff like that. So I mean that's cool, but. It's like you said, bro, the guy's pushing 40, so I really want to see him get a shot in the next year before he starts declining.
Yeah, I mean, the guy. I think he came in to the Joseph Parker fight around his heaviest weight. But he's coming in weighing like around Tyson Fury size, and he's all muscle. you know,
Yeah,
it's crazy how much bigger than he is compared to even Anthony Joshua. I mean, the guy is huge and he's relentless. He's throwing a lot of punches. Even at his age, he still has extreme amount of volume. I
yeah.
think he's literally the most dangerous fighter for anybody right now. I mean, I don't think if you can't hurt him, it's going to be very hard to beat him. I mean, even Fury and Usyk, very skilled fighters. If you can't knock him out, like, do you really want to go 12 rounds dealing with that guy? And I think he's much better than when he lost to Usyk. Usyk is going to have a harder time in this rematch against
Oh, yeah.
Joyce than he
Yeah, he's
did
much
back
better.
in the amateurs.
Yeah, but Joyce took up boxing really late. I think he was about 23 or 24 when he took up boxing. And right now, he fought Usyk nearly 10 years ago, so he's just bigger, stronger, way better, technically, smarter. He's just like a different fighter right now,
Yeah.
technically, mentally. Yeah, man, I think he's a very avoided guy, and I would love to see him get shot. But it's just like you said, bro. It's just really disappointing that the Usyk Fury fight never happened. But hopefully they can stage it later on this year.
Yeah, I think there's a chance, especially with the schedule. This pay-per-view schedule is crazy. It's too much coming up. And I'm hoping that, I know that Usyk was saying that if they reschedule the fight from April 29th, this is might have been like a week or two ago. He said that if they reschedule the fight, that they're going to revisit the 70-30 split, because he wanted to have it on April 20th. I mean, he's been training for a while. He's been staying fit. He's been in camp for a while for this fight, preparing for this fight. So with that being said, I'm hoping that they can just reschedule it until sometimes like maybe late May or in June, and then we'll get the fight then, and then all of this will just blow over, and everybody could be happy again. But this is going to be the only time where all four belts will be on the line. If they don't do it now, it's over. Not saying that none of these fighters can be undisputed in the future, but we already had a missed opportunity with who was at the time, I think Joshua and Wilder, when they
Yep.
both held all of the titles. We didn't get that fight. Both of those guys lose, but now these two are not going to fight. And if it doesn't happen, these belts are going to get separated again. You know, I mean, Fury could hold on to the WBC because it's only one title. So all he'll have to do is defend it against whoever mandatory that is. And that'll probably be Deontay Wilder. But
I
as
think.
far as the unification titles, that's going to be those titles are going to get split.
See, I'm not sure if it could happen in the UK though, if it was in May or June because of the soccer season. I
Hmm.
think in the UK, Wembley Stadium is only available for boxing events,
Hmm.
sort of April time or the back end of the year.
Hmm.
So because of soccer is like probably the biggest sport in Europe.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not sure if they can move it to May or June and have it at that stadium. So it might take it back to Saudi, unless they want to wait till November, sorry, October or September. Then the stadium will be available again because a lot of these stadiums in the UK they get used for like big soccer events.
All right. All right. Well, we just gotta wait and see. I mean, because as I'm going down a list here of the top heavyweights, there's literally no other options. I think Usyk will obviously fight Daniel Dubois,
Yeah.
and Fury, if he's not fighting Andy Ruiz or Joe Joyce, if he is to beat Zila Zhang, it's really there's no other options for Fury that people are gonna respect at all. You know, And I
Yeah, I
think
think
Andy Ruiz have no shot of being Tyson Fury. I mean, stylistically, Andy Ruiz is up there, but stylistically for Fury, he's all wrong for Tyson Fury. He's
oh
never
yeah,
going to get to
100%, bro.
Fury, and when
Yeah,
he
it's just
does, Fury's just going to
yeah.
lean all over him. That would be a terrible matchup. I never wanted to see that fight ever.
No, me either, bro. Me either, bro. Because you got a guy, Andy Ruiz, who's kind of short, well, compared to Fury, short, flat-footed. I mean, yeah, that's just a terrible fight. The height and reach and the slick skills. I think that's a mismatch. Um, I would love to see Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder, even though both guys are probably not what they once were as far as star power. I think Joshua's probably closer to his prime because he's only 32
Hmm.
compared to Wilder, who's at 37 and taking some really bad punishment in his last two fights.
Yeah, yeah,
How funny would that be? How funny
th-
would it be if that fight got made before Usyk Fury?
yeah. I mean, Joshua and Wilder should happen regardless. I mean, they both lost, and I've said this in other videos. They both lost. There's no zero to protect at this point. You guys are looking, especially with Wilder, he's a little bit up there in age. He's about 37 himself. So he's just at this point, you should be at a place where you just want to make a lot of money, you should make a lot of money. And I think Wilder and Joshua will still make a ton of money. I think the only fight that will probably make more than that fight will probably be Joshua and Fury, at this point.
Yeah.
So,
Bro, if I'm honest, bro, I think in the UK, Joshua versus Wilder might be a bigger fight than Fury versus Usyk. So
um, sorry, repeat that again.
I think Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder in the UK is probably a bigger fight than Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I think
Yep.
so. I think so. Um,
Even in America, I think that'd be a better ticket seller than
yeah,
Fury
no,
Usyk.
I believe so. I believe so. I think that fight is literally. I think again. I think the only fight that might do more numbers than Wilder and Joshua. Wherever you put it, is going to be Fury and Joshua in the UK. That would be the
Yeah,
biggest thing you guys probably ever had out there, as far as boxing. That would be crazy. But
yeah,
Joshua and Wilder would be big. And if they were to have a fight, I mean, I don't know where they would have it, but I think they would probably make more money having it out there. And I think people would really just my experiences out there and seeing Wilder out there the couple times he's been out there. I think people would really embrace him out there if he were to go, and I'm sure Wilder has a lot of fans out there. You know,
yeah, bro. He's got a lot of fans.
yeah,
The massive build up. They could do it in London. They could do it in Vegas. They could even do it in somewhere like Saudi. With those the crazy oil money over there. So
yeah. No, the Saudi thing is big. So they
yeah,
can do it wherever they decide to do it. But after Joshua fights Franklin, man, just skip the Dillian White rematches or any other fight. At this point, man, you go listen. You both lost. You both have your tune-up fights. You both are coming off two back-to-back losses. Wilder had his Hellenius fight. Joshua's gonna have his Franklin fight. Like I've said in the past, man, just get it on, man. Let's get it over with. At least we'll know who's. I'm tired of the hypothetical. Oh, who's better based on who got the better wins?
yeah,
Between Fury or who lost better. Who lost to the better fighter. Let's just get it on. Let's end it. I think whoever wins that fight, it'll be by knockout. I think
yeah,
if Wilder wins, he's knocking out AJ. If AJ wins, he's stopping Wilder at some point. I think that's a
yeah,
fight that just need to happen, and they'll make a lot of money. In fact, they can do rematches, and they don't have to worry about titles. There's no belt on the line. That'll be like it's like what I said about Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. They're saying they're forcing everybody to believe this is like a real super fight, where I
yeah,
believe that Wilder and Joshua is clearly a better fight. I mean, these guys are former champions. They've done
yeah,
pay-per-views. Ryan
yeah,
hasn't done anything yet. Yes, Tank has had some successful pay-per-views, but not on the level as Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua. That is a real super fight. But there's no belt on the line. There's no responsibilities. There's no obligations. Just take the fight. You guys lost already. Take the fight, and we'll all be happy. You know?
yeah, bro. I think potentially that could be a trilogy. Like it'd be funny if they finally fought and we got a trilogy out of it. Yeah, but I think for me personally, I think look, Wilder got a good bounce back win, a highlight knockout. If Joshua has a good, bounce back win and highlight knockout, I feel like it's now or never because it's not going to get any bigger than this. And right now, your careers are what they are. Right, you guys aren't going to get any better as far as star power or skill. You guys are pretty much what you are. So if you get a good win, knock someone out, get a buzz, fight each other, man. Do a big media tour, and the fans will, I think, love it. The only thing better than world titles is fan interest.
Yeah,
And I think it's
exactly.
massive. Yeah,
Exactly. Again, yes, undisputed is the priority here. I see your comment minutes. Undisputed definitely is the biggest fight, and that's what we want. And we still want it. Let me make this clear before I check out of here. I still want this fight. And if Frank is serious about still trying to work on getting this fight, because what he did said is this fight right now is the only time all four belts is going to be on the line,
yeah,
without having to deal with step aside fees and stuff like that. So make the fight happen, make it on another date, whatever you can do, try to save the fight. It's not going to happen April 29th at this point. That's a month away. It's not going to happen then. But if they can make the fight work out, you know, make it work. And you know,
How would you even promote like a big stadium, mega pay-per-view, global media event in a month? Like that just doesn't like. I mean, when does that ever happen? Especially for undisputed.
well,
Like I just don't.
to be honest, you couldn't make it because all of this talk, this back and forth, this fight has been promoted all this time. You know, I tell people all the time, the content creators, most of the content creators on YouTube alone have made tons, dozens of videos just talking about what is said between the promoters and the fighters leading up to this fight. You know, these guys
Mhm.
are at work. They're constantly talking about every issue that happens leading up to this fight. That is promotion. It's no different
Yeah,
from Ryan Garcia going around talking about how much he's getting weight trained and all of these contracts. That's part of the promotion. It's not just about the press conferences. It's about the interviews. It's about the social media posts. It's about, you know, even when they're interviewing people that's not involved, is asking who they think is going to win the fight. All of that is part of the that's it's free marketing basically.
do you
You
think
know,
that's? I mean, I feel like. Do you think that's taking shine off the fight though? For Ryan Garcia's telling everyone that he's weight drained and the catch weight and the hydration clause. I mean, for a super fight, I feel like one fighter talking about how crippled they are. Is that not kind of taken away from the media hype?
it could be, you know, but I don't think they have any other way to sell this fight.
Yeah,
You know, I just don't think there's any real animosity between the two. You know, there's no story, there's no backstory. Ryan is just too young. There's no backstory to any of this, and there's no notable names that Ryan have on his resume that would make you think that like you can build him up for this. You know, and I said this last night. I'm like, you beat Luke Campbell, which was your greatest win,
yeah,
and you went on a year hiatus, and then you came back and beat two fighters that no one cared about,
yeah.
and now you're fighting Tank, but you haven't even been active. You haven't fought since last July.
See, the thing that put me off Ryan Garcia is the way he dealt with Rodriguez's progress. Um, when they were going back and forth on Twitter. My thing is this though: if you're at 140, I thought the Rodriguez fight was a great fight. That's the one fight where it's one of the top dogs in the division. He's got a belt. You beat him, then I mean you've legit all the things people say about you, that you're an Instagram model, you're not a real fighter. You'd prove them all wrong. You'd beat a top guy and become a legitimate world champion, and then you could go back into negotiations with Tank and demand a lot more. But instead choosing to be weight drained to fight Tank Davis for no world title. I mean, it's like for me, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think what these guys do a lot is just like, especially with Ryan, um, it's a lot of build up talking about a lot of fighters just to fight someone else. You know, I said this as far, I realized it when Manny Pacquiao's name was getting thrown around in a possible fight with Ryan Garcia. You mention a lot of fighters. You know, you go back and forth on Twitter, and then you fight someone else. This is just marketing yourself for the next fight. You know, you keep your name out there. When you constantly, your name is always getting, in the mix or tied up with other fighters, and then you go and fight someone else. It's like you're marketing yourself because you're keeping yourself out there. Tyson Fury has been doing the same thing for years. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
he's been doing the same
yeah,
thing for years. I said I've been saying this for years. Tyson Fury is the a master at marketing, because
yeah.
he can contradict himself every day, and you have people talking about it. You have boxing fans bringing it up, but the key thing is bad publicity is always going to be good publicity. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if he's contradicting himself. It doesn't matter if he's lying. He could go out and say that, "Oh, I'm giving you my whole purse. I'm donating my whole purse," and everybody like, "Yeah, he's such a nice guy. He's such a good person." And then he turns around and do the complete opposite. It doesn't matter because it's getting people to talk about you more. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
so that's the way boxing has become. It's these guys are taking advantage of social media, and they're building themselves and they're marketing themselves for free.
No, it's like he'd say that he's Anthony Joshua isn't on his level. He's not worried about him. But whenever Anthony Joshua would have a fight week, right, Fury would make all his big announcements for who he's
Right.
fighting next, or do big interviews, or yeah, it was crazy, man. Like how he works.
Yeah. All right, Jimmy. Well, thanks for coming to the channel, man. I'm gonna get ready to get on out of here. Appreciate you stopping by. And
Yeah, thanks
if
for
you
having me
guys,
on, bro. I've been a big fan of your channel for a long time. So when I saw the link, I thought, oh shit, let me jump on and cook with Wave.
oh
Thanks for
yeah,
having me
yeah,
on, bro.
no, you're always welcome to come back. And anyone that is also here in the chat room, you always, if I drop the link, join us. And a rant and get off whatever you got to say, and that's it. All right, but yeah, like I said earlier, man, I'm just hoping that they reschedule this. Frank Warren said he's going to continue to try to work on getting this fight together, which I think he should, because there's nothing really else out there that any of us want. I mean, everybody else is tied up, and it doesn't even matter who's tied up or not. Yes, there are other good fights, but this is undisputed. This is the only fight that we can get that is undisputed at heavyweight, and this is the priority. And if we don't get it, I mean, yeah, we're gonna definitely have to work on other fights, but let's get this fight. Let's make it work. And if it doesn't work, and if they're really done, then then we just got to move on, and we'll talk about the next fight. But I just hope that I'm just kind of disappointed that Joe Joyce is the next fighter. I'm not Joe Joyce. I'm sorry. Daniel Dubois is the next fighter in line. I think that's pretty ridiculous. All right. So anyway, I'm out of here, man. Y'all have a good one. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.